Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. So we are on online lecture number 7 of the Programming Fundamentals course. Inshallah, today we are going to study more about C++ functions. We are going to discuss C++ user-defined functions. So far, we have discussed functions generally. We discussed built-in predefined functions that you can be used directly without writing them or without writing their definitions. You just have to include their header files and then straight away call them and use them. But today we are going to dig down into the functions, and further we are going to discuss user defined functions. So user-defined functions are written by the user, by the you people, in order to solve a particular problem that you faced in your daily life or in the programming problems. So with that, we are going to see what we can do with user-defined functions. So as you know that a function is a block of code which only runs when it is called. So you do not have to run a functions every time you run your main program. A functions may be executed or may be used depending upon its application, or it may not be used. So so far you have figured out that there are a lot of functions in Microsoft Word software, application software, and there are lots of function in operating system application software, but we do not use all of them all of the times. So it only depends upon their requirement, their use, and only when a block of code is you want to use them, it is only then that we call them and execute them. You can pass data which are known as parameters into a functions. You can give data. So most of the time you are giving the data to the functions, but it is not mandatory. There are lots of functions which do not require any data. Functions are used to perform certain actions, and they are important for reusing code. So that is the turning point in programming. So the power of functions comes with the application of function reusability. So functions written once is reused many times. So you define the code once and you use it many times. That gives you a lot of advantage. So you do not have to reinvent the wheel and rewrite the code again and again, and it saves a lot of energy and lot of resources and lot of time of you people. So now with that, how to create a function. C++ provides some predefined functions such as main. So as you know, main is a predefined function. This is the point where the program execution starts, but which is used to execute code. So the main function is used to execute your code, but you can also create your own functions to perform certain actions. To create, often referred to as declare a function, specify the name of the function followed by the parentheses. So it is that much easy. So you just have to specify the name of the functions. It should be meaningful, and then it is followed by parentheses. So this is the general syntax of defining a user-defined functions. The first thing is the return type of a function, which in this case is void, but it can be integer, it can be float, double, anything you want. And then the name of the function followed by parentheses, and then the body of function. And inside this body of the function, you write the code to be executed. So my function is the name of the functions. Void means that the function does not have a return value. You will learn more about the return values later in the next chapters, or maybe in these same slides. Inside the functions, which is called the body of the functions, add code that defines what the function should do. So it is that much easy. So just like the main functions, you also have user-defined functions, but the difference is that main function is the starting point of the program, whereas depending upon the usage of the user defined functions, you call them and you use them and you execute them. So how do we call a function? Declared functions are not executed immediately. They are stored, but they are not executed, they are not run immediately. They are saved for later use and will be executed later when they are called. To call a function, write the function's name followed by two parentheses and a semicolon. So in the following example, my function is used to print a text, the action, which when it is called. So let us see an example of how to call a functions. So this is your you may call it like we people are inside main and we are calling my functions. So how to call my function? So first we declare my function. We are declaring it, and at the same time we are also defining it. So the return type of the function is void, then the name of the function, parenthesis, and then the opening and closing curly braces, which defines the body of the functions, and then inside you write some statement to be executed. So in this case we write cout, I just got executed. And then later on in the main function we call the function. So how do we call the function? We write the name of the function, my function, then parentheses and semicolon. So this is how we call the function. It's so simple. And then functions get executed, the control goes to this statement, and then you notice that like this statement is executed, so your output is I just got executed. So let me turn on the recorder. So we still have a lot of time. All right, so with that, let us move on. So here is the example of just what we discussed. You can just copy this code and paste it in the code blocks, and then you can compile it, run it. But here we are declaring and defining the function at the same time before the main function. And inside the main function, we are calling this function. So function is called by simply writing the name of the function and then semicolon. So the control goes here, the function gets executed, and after the function execution, your control go back to the statement after where you have called my function or your user defined function. So here return 0 will be executed and then the programs end. So with that, let us move to the next slide. A function can be called many times. So this is another advantage or the power that user defined function give it to you people. So we have IOStream header file, then using namespace std, and then we define and declare a function. So in this example, we are calling the function 3 times. So you can call the function as many times as you like, as you need. So this is a great advantage. Like you write a code once and then you call it again and again, depending upon the need, the requirement of the function. So now we are going to discuss function declaration and function definition. A C++ function consists of two parts, especially C++ user-defined function consists of two parts. The first one is the function declaration, the function's name, return type, and the parameters if any. So function declaration only have the function's name, the return type, and parameters if any. So you notice that function declaration we do not have, or we do not write the body of the function. Whereas in function definition, the body of the function, the code to be executed is included. So this is the difference. So you may now ask that, then why do we, in the previous example, why do we do not declare a function first? So there are many ways to write user-defined function. You can just define them on top of the main function, but if you are going to write it below the main function, then first you declare it at the top after including the header files, and then you define it after the main function. So here is an example: void my function and then curly braces. So void my function is function declaration, whereas where you define the instruction of the function, this is called the function definition, the body of the function. Note that if a user defined function such as my function is declared after the main function, an error will occur. It is because C++ works from top to bottom, which means that if the function is not declared above the main function, the program is unaware of it. So you have to first declare it, like you have to tell the compiler that we are going to use a main function, because C++ works from top to bottom. It executes the first statement and then the next and next. So if you do not tell the compiler that I'm like writing a function and directly after the main function you have written it, then you will get an error because the compiler, the program is unaware of it. Okay, so here is another example. We have a function, my function. We are calling the my function in the main, the body of the main function, and then what you do, you have defined the function after the main function. My function I just got executed. So this will gives you an error. Why? Because you notice that we haven't defined or declared the function before the main function. So you will get an error. So you can also try it. This is the body of your main function, whereas this is your function definition, which you have written after the main function. So here it is a complete example. We have include IOStream, header file, using namespace, standard namespace directory, and then inside the main function we just simply directly call the my function, which like compiler does not know about it because before the main function we haven't declared it, so it will produce an error. So if you call my function, so my function will not be executed. So you have to first tell the compiler that what is my function. So you have to declare it before the main function. However, it is possible to separate the declaration and the definition of the function for the code optimization. So you will often see C++ programs that have function declaration above main and the function definition below main. So this is normally a lot of people prefer this way of writing user-defined function. This will make the code better organized and easier to read. So here you can see we have function declaration. At the top of main function, we just write the function signature or the function prototype or the function declaration. You can call it anything you want. So function declaration is also called function prototype or function signature. So we write the return type, then the name of the function, and then parentheses and semicolons, and that's it. So this is your function declaration. And then inside the main method or the main function, you write main, and then you call the function my function, and then my function is called and the body of my function gets executed. I just got executed. So this is how a lot of people like prefer this way of writing a function. Okay, so with that, let us discuss the complete example. So include IOStream is the header file. It contains the files for the cin and cout statements. Like it helps cin and cout statement to get executed. And then we have standard namespace. If you do not write namespace, then you have to write std before every like cout and cin, which becomes very complicated. So at the top you declare a function, void my function, and then inside the main function you call it. And then the function definition, the control comes to the function definition. The function definition here, we have a function called my function. It gets executed, and after that the control comes back to the main function, and this return 0 statement is executed. So in our case, the return type of my function is void. That means that it will not return anything. But if you see here, the return type of a main function is integer. It means that it will return an integer value. So you can write 0 or any integer number. So the 0 will get returned, and it will tell the compiler that your program has been successfully executed. So there is another important concept in user-defined function, and that is called C++ function parameters. So there is a difference, parameters and arguments. So there is a little difference. Information can be passed to a function as a parameters. Parameters acts as a variable inside the function. So inside the function, whatever variables are, they are called function parameters. Parameters are specified after the function name inside the parentheses. You can add as many parameters as you want. Just separate them with the comma. So here is a syntax: void function name parameter 1, comma parameter 2, comma parameter 3, and then the code to be executed. So you can add as many parameters as you want, as you need. The following example has a function that takes a string called fname as a parameter. When the function is called, we pass along a first name which is used inside the function to print the full name. So here is an example. You can notice here that inside this function declaration and definition, we are writing fname as a string, and then we are displaying it. So what does it mean? Like, we can now call a function, my function, and pass it a string. So at first time when we are calling it, we are passing it liam. So liam is this function name is passed over here. Fname has now a value of liam, and then when you execute cout statement, so liam is printed on the screen. And then for the second time, we are calling my function and passing it Jenny as an argument. So Jenny is an argument. The argument is thrown to the function parameter. Here the function parameter is fname, which catches this Jenny value, and then it prints that value. And for the third time, we are calling it and passing Anja as an argument. So the value which is passed are called argument, and the value inside the functions, the variables inside the functions, are called function parameters. So the arguments got caught by the function parameters. So here for the third time when you execute this statement, so Anja will be get printed, and then you can print whatever, like ref nes inside this double colon and the next line. So you can copy this code and execute it on your code blocks. So as I already told you that you have to run every program. So this is your assignment, and I'm inshallah going to check it after these vacations. When a parameter is passed to a function, it is called an argument. So this is very important statement. So you have to differentiate between parameter and argument. So what is the difference? When a parameter is passed to a function, it is called an argument. So the value which is passed is called an argument. So from the example above, fname is a parameter. So fname is a parameter because it was declared inside the function, while liam, Jenny, and Anja are the arguments. So keep this difference in mind, because you will get confused whenever people are talking about arguments and parameters. So there is a difference. Though a lot of people mixes these terms, they call argument as parameter and parameter as argument. But as a professional, you should know what is the difference between argument and parameter. So we also have a default parameter. It has a default value. You can also use default parameter value by using equal signs. If we call a function without an argument, it uses the default value. So for example, here we have a Norway case. So what does that mean? So once again, we have this function. It is accepting something, but by default we have Norway. So whenever you call a function, so here we are calling this function and passing it Sweden. So country will get the value of Sweden because Sweden is argument, and then we are calling it and passing India. So country will get the value of India and Norway will be bypassed. And then for the third time when we call it, we are giving it no value. So at that time the default value will get activated and the country will be assigned the value of Norway, and then Norway will be printed. And for the fourth time we are passing it the value of USA. So country has now the value of USA and the value of USA gets printed. So I think now you can write your own user-defined function, and I think you now know what user-defined function is. We are going to continue the discussion of functions because they are very important in the next few lectures. So if you have problem, you can post them on the Google group, and I'll happy to answer your problem. So till the next lecture, take care and Allah Hafiz.